and welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avanties, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, Zerotio.
What is up, gang? We have been out for a little extended time. Avanti's had a little trip down to Atlanta to go to Dragon Con, which I'm sure he will tell us plenty about and continue to tell us he went to Dragon Con for 3 years, like I did about BlizzCon. We did record an episode about Mercenaries, which is what we're going to talk about this week. But there was some technical difficulties with the recording, and there wasn't enough time to re-record it. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week is Mercenaries. So there's no play portion this week. We're going to talk about a little bit about the patch notes that came through. Then we're going to go into a deep dive on Mercenaries because I know there's a lot of people that
With a lot of questions.
that want to know a lot about not just Mercenaries, but the type of game that Mercenaries has been referred to as a gacha game for a while now. So we will go into all that. So my week in Hearthstone, I'm not working 7 days a week again, so I'm able to play some more. I did not get Legend last month, so I'm at a 9x, and my first Saturday off, I decided to just hit the ladder hard, and I hit Diamond 10 where my star bonus stopped, and just got on.
How does it feel being an average Joe?
It was tough. So I hit that Diamond 10, and it was like, so the difference between hitting Diamond 10 with 1 star and hitting Diamond 5 with 1 star is Diamond 10 at least still get the 2-star win streak, where at Diamond 5 you don't. So it's a little easier than trying to go from Diamond 5 to Legend, but not much. I was playing Quest Shaman because I just wanted a good, positive win rate deck after the patch, and I pushed through and got to Diamond 5.
Nice.
Got to Diamond 5. So I'm at Diamond 5 now. I'm kind of just going to chill there. I'll probably push today after the show and a little bit tomorrow before I go to work, and see if I can get up to like Diamond 3 or Diamond 2. But I do not want to have another situation where I am not getting Legend. It felt really bad. I felt kind of defeatist. I know it wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It was because I just didn't have enough time to play. But I still feel as if I was maybe finding a good solid 75% to 80% win rate pocket like I sometimes do, that maybe I could have gotten Legend in like a little bit of pocket of time that I had. But it is what it is. Ridiculous Hat likes to very commonly and profoundly say you are not your rank, and he's right. So I know I'm still good at the game. I just right now my priorities have shifted to real life. On a real life note, I paid off my car yesterday.
Congratulations.
So once that payment gets cleared and I can get with the bank, I'm going to go down and we're going to get a second car for my wife. We've been a 1-car household with 3 jobs, 2 between me. I have 2 and she has 1, so I'm driving her to work and I'm going to my 2 jobs, and it's a lot of stress on the car and gas mileage. So going to 2-car household is going to help us a lot, and that's the whole reason why I got the second job, and I'm just really excited for that. So that's good news. My health situation is still going really well. I'm steadily staying right around the 290 mark. I'm not really dieting because with the second job, if I diet too much, I start feeling lightheaded and exhausted. So I need that. I need to fuel my body. But I'm building a lot of muscle. So those that have been asking about how my weight loss is going, it's plateaued, but plateaued in a good way, because I'm still losing mass. Like my waist is getting smaller, but I'm gaining a lot of muscle in my chest, shoulders, and arms. So
awesome.
That is for those that I've had a few inquiries about that on Twitter. on what the status of my health battle, and all my vitals are looking good. My diabetes is in check. I'm still watching my cholesterol. That's the only thing I really got to do. But how was your wonderful week at Blizz? No, I'm sorry, Dragon Con.
So yeah, my week's been good. Last Saturday, last weekend, I should say, my son and I drove down to Atlanta for Dragon Con, and it was good. Dragon Con feels like home. I hadn't been in quite a few years. So, backstory, Dragon Con's been happening in Atlanta every year since 1987. Last year was the first year they did not have the convention. The last year I went was 2014. And so, getting to go this year really felt like coming home. And I got there and immediately settled into the old rhythm of, pounding the pavement between the hotels, checking out panels, and getting to see old friends that I only get to see at Dragon Con. And it was just good. It was soul soothing, you would say. And
I wish I could have went, because I saw the pictures of you there, and then I saw the pictures of another very close friend of mine
mm-hmm.
that was there that I didn't know was there, and I wish I would have went just to see him. You might have heard of him, Jim Butcher. The
Yeah,
author
actually,
of
I
Treasure
actually
Files.
saw Jim while we were there. He
Did you
was
drop my name at all?
no, he
Oh,
he was
come
really
on.
busy. He had a line of people. He was
He
signing
does. Yeah.
autographs, and so I didn't want to bother him. Be like,
Jim's a
hey,
great guy.
hey, do you know this guy, James Brash? And then he and I, I just didn't want to bother him with, these notable, people that he might know. So,
Well, I will tell you, if you would have said that to him, he would have said yes. So, because I'm that cool.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
go on.
So anyway, yeah, Saturday we just kind of chilled, went to some panels, went to a really good Overwatch voice actors panel where they had the voices of Soldier 76, Sombra, and Symmetra all
Oh,
there.
man. I was gonna say, if Matt was there, I would be
No,
kicking myself.
no, Mercer was
That's
not
one of my
there.
bucket lists. I want to meet Matt Mercer.
Yeah. No, it was, and I always butcher his name, Fred Tacitor, or
Yes.
Tatasor.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
He's voiced so many famous characters for cartoons and other animated projects. So it was kind of cool being in the room with him. But Sunday, I was invited to run a fireside gathering at Dragon Con. This was the first time I have ever done this. I was informed that they had run some Hearthstone tournaments in the past, in the last couple of years before they took the year off. So 2018, 2019, they had actually had Hearthstone tournaments at the convention. But this was the first time they'd ever had a fireside gathering. So it went better than I had expected. So, first of all, had you come down to Dragon Con, you wouldn't have been able to get in. So it was
Okay.
probably
Yeah.
a good
Last
thing
minute, you mean?
you
Yeah.
did not, because they limited the total amount of ticket sales, and then they did not sell individual day passes this year for the first time.
I mean, understood. I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. I would
Yeah,
have made it in
you
there.
probably could have made
I
it.
know some people on
Right.
staff,
Yeah.
so and I had already kind of talked to them about it.
Right.
So it
Yeah,
was going to be a plan
probably
that
could
I
have got in, but
Yeah.
anybody who had come down just for a day could not buy a ticket, could not buy a pass, because they were not for sale. Which was an interesting thing, because panel rooms were only about half full, which was really nice. There was plenty of space. They did a real good job of making sure people wore masks and were social distancing.
So they were CDC compliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good,
Absolutely.
good. That's good to hear.
100% CDC compliant. I actually spent a little more than I probably should have.
Yeah, I was going to mention...
bought an Ultra
okay.
Saber.
Oh, see, when you sent me your lightsaber bathroom pics, which sounds very suggestive, but they're not, they were red. So that must have been you were using Hathrul's lightsaber.
Correct. Yeah.
For the infamous pick. His
is actually orange. It looked red.
Oh, is it orange?
It looked red in the dark room.
And then he had told me that him showing me pictures and stuff like that, sending me videos, kind of urged you to buy one.
Yes, yeah. So,
right?
yeah.
So you're welcome.
So I sprung and bought a lightsaber at Dragon Con, and it's fantastic, and I'm super happy with it.
It's pretty. I like the hilt. It's very light, very Jedi-ish.
Back to the fireside. It was good. We ended up with about 20 people, and
nice.
And 2 of them were brand new, downloaded the client at the convention. I walked them through doing the Battlegrounds tutorials, and then got them into some Battlegrounds pods. We ran about 5 Battlegrounds pods with 8 players in each pod, and we had a different winner for every single Battleground. I was extremely happy with the fact that no one person won more than one.
Nice. So that brings me to a question. With the changes in clients and putting Battlegrounds on the front page, along with what will be Mercenaries and traditional Hearthstone, how easy was it with a new player to download the client, go through the short, quick tutorial, and be able to get into Battlegrounds within a legitimate?
Oh, it was great
time frame.
It was great, actually. They downloaded the client, went through the basics, and then you have to do that first Battlegrounds tutorial, and then you're good to go.
There's nothing else. Like an AI, right?
Yeah, the one against the AI, and then there's nothing else interfering between you playing in additional Battlegrounds. So, like I said, we were running them 8 players at a time. I played in a couple of them, and then we had enough people to cover all the rest. So it was good. Everybody said they had a really good time being able to play. Having everybody in the room in the same lobby. There was some trash talking. Good times were had. So I'm looking forward to doing something like that. For our local group here in Knoxville the next time we can get together.
Did they talk about this may be a little inside baseball you can't talk about now? Did you get any feedback on the possibility of next year?
No, not yet. I submitted a report to the video game track guys with pictures and numbers, and we had so basically they do everything now through the Dragon Con app. Yes. And most of the players told me as they were leaving that they had a great time. They were rating me 5 stars in the Dragon Con app in the hopes that there would be something there next year. So I don't know. We'll see if they felt like the juice was worth the squeeze for the players, and we'll kind of go from there.
I think with my second job, that may be something I can try to swing next year is actually plan for Dragon Con. Because it's a bad timing because my wife starts to work in August and doesn't get her first check till after Dragon Con.
Right.
So we're usually on our last bit of finances. But if we plan now, and the fact that we have a 3-job income in the household right now, that's something we could probably plan for.
Yeah, So
hearing you talk about it, it'd be really cool to do that next year.
Just FYI, Dragon Con next year is going to be September 1st through the 5th, 2022. Yeah. And if
It's
you
always Labor Day weekend.
it's
Or the
always
weekend
Labor Day
before
weekend.
Labor Day.
It's 5 days, Thursday to Monday. And if you buy your tickets now, between now and I think like Thanksgiving or maybe a little after, they're only $85 for the whole 5 day period.
Ooh, nice.
And they do the price does gradually go up as it gets
Yeah.
closer to the convention. I think at the door they're like $175 or $200.
I think we might do that next year. I'll talk to Mrs. Zerotio, see if that's something she wants to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be
So,
cool.
all right.
Cool.
So let's get into some Hearthstone news because while we were away, as you said, they dropped patch 21.2. So this was an absolutely huge patch. We're only
Yes.
going to touch on a couple of small things, but we'll have links to all the patch notes in our show notes if you guys want to check that out. So, patch 21.2 brought the pre purchase for Mercenaries, which we're going to talk about. It brought a massive, massive revamp for Battlegrounds and the Book of Mercenaries featuring Tamsin and a couple of constructed changes that we're going to kind of focus on here. So, Zerotio, tell us about these standard balance changes and how they are affecting the current meta.
So the big target here was Warlock, because after the last set of balance changes, Warlock kind of became supreme and pretty much dominated the meta. It was really the only deck that did well against the Quest Shaman. So people were playing it in droves, and then in comparison, people were playing the No Minion Mage to counter the Warlocks, which they had tried to nerf the No Minion Mage, and even though it was nerfed, its play rate went up because Warlock was so good. So the two major changes, the first one is Stealer of Souls. It was a 4-mana 2/6 demon. After you draw a card, change its cost to health instead of mana. They've changed it to a 6-mana 4/6 with the same text. This is basically just changing that curve. And to be honest, it's really impacted the meta. A lot of people have taken Stealer of Souls out of their deck. This doesn't impact Wild because Wild has it banned still, and they did not change that. So this change here didn't do anything for Wild. But for Standard, a lot of your Warlocks are just switching to a different style Warlock without the Stealer of Souls in it. And then the second change is Flesh Giant, which was nerfed from 8 mana to 9 mana, 8/8, cost 1 less for each time your hero's health changed during your turns. It's changed again to 10 mana. Now for Standard, this is fairly impactful because it kind of changes that big swing turn to kind of land on the turn 6 instead of turn 5. And then you want to play the Battlegrounds Battlemaster next to it, but then you're doing that on turn 7 instead of turn 6. So it kind of delays everything by a turn. And it's, again, has impacted Standard in a positive way. Warlock's win rate's not so high, though they're still playing Flesh Giant. Now, this has caused a huge stir in the Wild community because both of these changes, one doesn't really impact because it's a banned card, and the second, the Flesh Giants change, doesn't really do anything because as quickly as they're able to complete the requirements to reduce the cost of Flesh Giant, they can get to 0 mana very early, sometimes like turn 3, even at 10 mana. So Wild's kind of in an uproar right now, and there's a lot of devs are saying that they are going to look at Wild for the next patch, that they don't normally look at Wild unless it's out of hand, and it looks like it might be out of hand at this time. So hopefully they make some changes for Wild. We're not a Wild podcast, so we'll leave that to Born to be Wild to talk about in more detail. But ultimately, I played after the patch, and I've got a lot of Warlock matchups as the Quest Shaman, and normally that's kind of an auto loss. um, because it's really good. Warlock's really good against the shaman. However, I was able to win some of those matchups, and I think it's because this deck got slowed down just a bit. Even a turn is enough of a window for some of these other decks to be able to beat the Warlock. So I think it positively impacted the meta, uh, but I think they could have done more. And I think the reason they didn't is because they have the mini set coming up, and you don't want to make too many balance changes. And they did talk about here in the future they're going to be doing another balance change that might include buffs. So I'm guessing that's probably going to be leading up to the mini set to make the mini set cards more impactful. Because if you nerf too much, and some of the mini set cards supported the cards that ended up getting nerfed, then they're almost unplayable. So you got it's kind of a steady balance, but ultimately I think these are good changes. Obviously, the big thing in this patch was battlegrounds, and we're not going to go into detail
Yeah, yeah.
about it, but
Well,
let's
I
just
also
say,
think it's important to remember, and I don't remember if we had actually, I think we did talk about it on the last episode that we recorded.
yeah,
Alec Dawson had sent out a tweet talking about balance changes over the next month,
mhm,
saying, on 8/31, there were 2 Warlock changes, upping mana, feels focused. So those were the ones we just talked about. Between 8/31 and September the 10th, which as of this recording was yesterday, they were
mhm.
going to be evaluating the meta post those balance changes and seeing how it felt. Starting yesterday, going forward, they're going to be deciding if any additional changes are needed. And then later this month, they will decide if any of those changes are needed. Those changes will go live. So we could still see some additional changes happening
Yes.
in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and further tweets from Alec Dawson kind of suggest we will, and there might even be some buffs in there, which I'm guessing the buffs would be to support the mini set cards coming out, which we don't have a date on yet. I will say about the battlegrounds updates, they're plentiful, they're many, and they're lots and lots of fun. I have been making time for some battlegrounds once
Oh
I hit
man,
Diamond 5.
this has been one of the biggest Battlegrounds updates since possibly Battlegrounds went live. I mean, it
This
was
is
just
probably, I would say, this is probably the most stable battlegrounds meta ever. And I'm not a battlegrounds player, uh, primarily, but I'm really enjoying it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, if you guys want to know more about those Battlegrounds changes, like I said, check out our show notes over at heropowerhs.com. Just click on this episode 279, and you'll be taken to those show notes, and there you can find the link. So, all right,
So before we go further, I do have a question for you.
sure.
What is a gotcha game?
So that's a good segue, Zerotio.
You're not supposed to call it out.
What is a gotcha game, and why is it in my card game? So,
Yes.
a gotcha game is a genre of video games that implement the gotcha mechanic, which is a toy vending mechanic that became widely popular in the early 2010s in Japan.
Yeah.
So pretty much all the highest grossing mobile games in Japan use this genre or model of gaming. It's become very integral to the way games are made there, and it's really spread out a lot into the rest of the world over the last 5 to 7 years. Most gotcha games are considered free to play, and the gotcha, as they like to call it, the gotcha serves as an incentive to basically spend real world money. So most of these games do have an in-game currency that can make the game completely free to play if you're willing to spend the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you spend the money, it kind of takes away that grinding time element. So
yes, it's money for time.
exactly,
Investment.
exactly.
And
Some of
now
the most
it's also important to note that gacha, it's GACHA, got its name from something called a gachapon.
yeah.
They were little collectible. It was like a crane game where you'd and there were physical crane
What
games and then
wasn't
there were
always a
virtual
crane
crane
game.
games.
Some of them you just put a
No, yeah,
quarter in and twist the handle and you get a plastic egg.
that's what I mean. It was there was a physical crane and a quote crane game, and then they became a virtual one where you could actually virtually play a game, and you would twist a knob or you'd hit a button and a crane would go down and look like it's grabbing something, and then they would mail that to you even across the world. I have a friend of mine who got addicted to them, and he has a full collection of these. They weren't gachapons specifically, but
Mm-hmm.
it was the same type of thing. But that's where it got its name from. A lot of people have kind of changed that to gotcha, meaning like
Right.
got ya to
But
spend money.
that's not what
and,
it means.
and the reason is because gotcha games, it's not really a style of gameplay, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's lots of gotcha games that play differently. It's more of a financial strategy around the game that's considered gotcha. So we have games like Marvel Strike Force, and DC Legends, and Disney Sorcerer Heroes, which are like hero collectors that are gotcha games. You have Raid Shadow Legends, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Langrisser, Hearthstone technically is considered a gotcha style mechanic because of the card packs.
Right.
You spend in-game currency or you spend money to get a card pack, and you get random things that you can use in the game. In this case, it's cards. So where people are a little upset about Mercenaries, which we'll be talking about in more depth here shortly, coming to the game saying, "Oh, great, they're turning Hearthstone into a gotcha game." No, Hearthstone's already a gotcha game. They're just bringing in another gameplay style that has the gotcha mechanics.
Right.
Now, we'll talk more in depth about Mercenaries, about why we think Mercenaries is a gotcha game, and how we believe so far that it's going to be better than games like Raid Shadow Legends and Marvel Strike Force, which we have a lot of experience with because I've played both of those games.
I have played every game you read off a minute ago, other than Langrisser. I have played. I have experience in all of those games.
And one of those games, Marvel Strike Force, I have experience in spending a bit of money in, because I felt it's worth the investment for what I get out of the game.
I agree. I have also spent not as much as you. You know, if Zerotio were a whale, I'm more like a dolphin. I spend money, but I don't spend as much. But I do spend quite a bit in Marvel Strike Force, and it's because I enjoy the game and I want the developers to continue to make the game, and so I want to help them out by spending a little bit of money.
So now that we got an idea of what a gotcha game is and kind of the description and where its origins came from, let us talk about Hearthstone Mercenaries and what they announced and gave us information on the 31st, which we're a little late for talking about this.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know a lot of the community, and especially Twitter, is still really confused. So the first thing I want to say is they did a showcase, a video of all the details, and we have some of the details up on the screen right now for our video watchers about the map and all that kind of stuff. But first thing I want to say is the showcase was horrible.
Yeah, so
They did a really bad job.
I want to throw a thing out there. This next part, if you guys are listening on the audio, we're going to do our best to describe everything. But to get the full benefit of this, it would probably be better to watch our video portion because I do have a lot of images from the live stream. I have a lot of images taken from the Mercenaries blog posts, and it would probably behoove you to follow along. If you can't and you are audio only, we will do our best to describe everything in detail as we go. So, with that said, Zerotio, tell us a little bit about it.
The first thing they talked about is this Mercenary Village in your collection. So the way it's going to work is you're going to get, there's a total of 50 heroes that's going to be at a little, I think there's a little bit more than 50, but they said at least 50 heroes that we're going to get at launch. And you, through going through the tutorial, will get 8 of those heroes right out the gate. Now, going through that tutorial, you're going to have to navigate the Mercenaries Village. Now, the Mercenaries Village is made up of a few key points, and I'll go over them real quick. There's the Tavern, which is for your collection manager. That's like your collection manager in Hearthstone, except you're going to see your equipment and your mercenaries in there. You're going to have your Travel Point, which is your PvE. That's where you're going to do your bounties, and you're going to be able to level those up so you can do bounties from normal mode to heroic mode and eventually legendary mode. You'll have your Fighting Pit, which is where you go for PvP. There's the Merchant Shop, which you can use in-game currency, and I'm assuming real currency to buy things. The Mercenaries Packs, which is just a kind of a spot where you would click on Open Packs. That's what that is for your mercenaries. There's the Mailbox, which gives you announcements. There's the Workshop, which is your building manager for crafting things like you would with dust, except there's currencies that you'll be crafting with for mercenaries. And then there's the Campfire, which is like a task board that lets you do quests, mini quests, things like that to get things. And then your visiting mercenaries. They haven't gotten into a lot of detail about visiting mercenaries. I think you're going to be able to get mercenaries there on a rotating basis. So every few hours or maybe every day, we don't know yet. There'll be different mercenaries you can get in there, or rent their time or something like that. However, this looks very, very, very similar if you played Raid Shadow Legends.
I have a pic for that. So, yeah, here is the picture of the fort from Raid Shadow Legends. As you can see here, you have a tavern, you have the portal, you have the fighting pit battlegrounds. Basically, everything you see in the Mercenaries Village is very similar to the way Raid Shadow Legends is set up. This is kind of your home screen. When you click on the Mercenaries button on the front page of Hearthstone, it's going to take you straight to your village. And that's going to be kind of where you do everything, where you start, where you manage everything. It's really your home base. And so you're going to need to be very familiar with the village in Mercenaries, because you're going to be seeing it a lot, spending a lot of time in this screen if you're playing Mercenaries.
And this is kind of the biggest red flag a lot of people had at first. So like, oh my gosh, they just cookie cut Raid Shadow Legends. That means they want all our money. They just want to spend all your gold. This is just going to be a pay to win thing. First off, the map itself does not denote that it's going to be a money grab gacha style game. That is the gameplay portion of Raid Shadow Legends. Just because they have that town, that fort, does not mean you spend money. That's just the model they chose to.
Did we lose you? I think Zerotio may have locked up. So, yeah, as he was saying, this is just a model for what it kind of looks like. If you guys played World of Warcraft, there was the Legion expansion where you had to build your own fortress. And it was very similar in that you would have to build out your fort as you go by completing events in Legion, and this is kind of very similar to that. Or did we get you back, Zerotio?
Yes, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had a network hiccup here.
Okay.
I don't know where I dropped off at.
You were just talking about it being similar. This was kind of the starting point, and it was going to be kind of similar, but it's kind of set to its own thing. And I was kind of hearkening it to the Legion's, the World of Warcraft Legion fortresses that you had to build.
Yes, yes. And what I was getting into is a lot of people think because it looks like Raid Shadow Legends, it's going to be all about the money grab just because of that. And I don't think so. What I believe is they've gone through and found lots of games in various genres, especially in the mobile realm, that they've liked the maybe the financial part of it, or they've liked the map layout would like Raid Shadow Legends, or they like the gameplay, and they've taken the best of everything so far from what I can see and kind of put it into one game. And then they added their own financial model to it, which is kind of gacha, which we will talk about a little bit later when we get to the bundles and the hero collections. But just because it looks like Raid Shadow Legends does not mean that it's going to be as poor of an experience that some people have said they've had with Raid Shadow Legends. So take that with a grain of salt. I personally think that there are good aspects of Raid Shadow Legends, and so far it looks like what they used from Raid Shadow Legends are the good things that aren't about just taking your money.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mercenaries themselves. So as Zerotio had alluded to, there's going to be 50 or a little more mercenaries at launch, and those are going to be broken down into 3 distinct categories or 3 roles. You'll have fighters, which have green frames. They tend to use aggressive abilities to deal major damage in combat to your enemies. You'll have casters, which have blue frames. Casters tend to cast spells for powerful effects, sometimes to support a party or sometimes to do damage blowing up the enemy party. But they tend to have less attack, which can make them softer targets for the enemies. And then you have protectors. They have red frames. Now, they tend to be your tanks and support characters. They often have really high health totals, and you can kind of utilize the certain effects like taunts and buffs to kind of help protect and keep your casters and fighters alive. So, with these 3 roles, you're going to have a chart. So in combat, you're going to have your fighters, which do double damage to casters
when attacking.
Casters will do double damage to protectors, and protectors will do double damage to fighters. This is very similar to the way combat works in DC Legends. In DC Legends, your characters are red, blue, and green, and they form this triangle where in DC Legends, red does more damage to blue, blue does more damage to green, green does more damage to red. So it's very similar to the way Mercenaries combat will work, but Mercenaries has reversed it. So red does double to green, green does double to blue, blue does double to red. It's going to be a very important triangle to remember for Mercenaries combat.
Yeah, and because of the way Hearthstone combat is, they are using the Hearthstone combat model. So in Hearthstone, if I attack a minion, I do damage to that minion, but the minion also does damage to the minion I attacked with. So in Mercenaries, same thing's going to happen. If I queue up an attack with a caster, which is blue, against a fighter, which is green, and we'll say in this example, the caster's a 1-7 and the fighter's a 2-11. The caster is only going to do 1 damage to the fighter because it's it doesn't get a bonus. And the fighter would normally get a ×2 bonus, but it still only does 2 damage because it's not attacking its opposing. So you can safely attack into something that is strong against your type, and it's not going to do extra damage. But if they attack into yours, it will. So that bonus is only when it's attacking, not when it's defending.
Yeah.
Which is different from DC Legends, because with DC Legends, when they attack, it's just an attack. There is no counterattack type thing. So I like that they kind of used that, but they made it more Hearthstone-ish.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that you'll be able to do with these characters is equip items of pieces of equipment and manage abilities. So at level 1, each mercenary will only have one ability available to them, but you can unlock a second ability at level 5 and a third ability at level 15. So as you're progressing in the game, the mercenaries you're using in combat will earn experience points and level up, earning you additional ability slots, and you can then gain pieces of equipment which will augment your abilities or give you additional things you can do during combat. So that's a very important part of the game. It's not just about collecting mercenaries. I mean, yeah, you want to try to collect mercenaries because you can build teams. Teams are in combat. Teams are going to usually be 3 characters with an additional 3 characters in reserve. So you can build these teams the same way you kind of build a deck. You'll go in and create a new team. You'll add the mercenaries to that team that you want to take with you, and then save them to your team list. And then you can just add, anytime you go into combat, you can say, well, you'll be able to look at what the opposing team is, and if it's made up of like 3 fighters, 1 caster, and two protectors, you can go, okay, so they have 3 fighters. I need to probably bring in 3 protectors, or I need to bring in a team of fighters to counter their fighters. So there's a bit of strategy to how you make up your teams.
There's a lot of strategy, which is this is kind of unique. I'd like to point out a specific game that allows you to do things like this. I think the closest thing is Marvel Strike Force has like teams you can build so that when I go through Blitz or Arena or War, whether it be War Offense or War Defense, I can go through my pre-made teams and select one of them that best meets that scenario. But then this has the added level of equipment and customizing a team. So if you have a team that's identical to mine, they might not actually work the same against each other because one might be different because of the type of equipment I chose to put on them. And that's kind of unique with these type of games, and it makes it a little more Hearthstone-ish, like they did with Battlegrounds, where Battlegrounds was quote unquote a cookie cutter of the auto chess genre. It was so unique because it used the Hearthstone IPs and the Hearthstone gameplay style of cards that it stood out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this Mercenaries mode so far, again, we won't be able to see it until launch, which we'll talk about the launch date here later. It might bring people over from a lot of those other games. I'll tell you right now, I played past tense Star Wars Galaxy Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I just uninstalled it on all my devices this past week.
Okay.
Because I haven't spent money in it in a couple of years, and the gameplay's gotten stale, and I found myself missing timers because I just wasn't focusing on it. And I thought, you know what, that time that I would spend in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, I'm going to spend in Mercenaries. So I preemptively opened up my schedule, so when Mercenaries comes out, I can just kind of slot it into where I would play Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah.
So you might have other people. I know right now, Marvel Strike Force is having a mass exodus of players leaving. And some of those players know of Hearthstone, but they didn't really like the traditional Hearthstone style of gameplay. It might bring them over to Hearthstone via Mercenaries.
Right.
So I'm excited to see this combat style because it's going to be very flexible. Also, getting into the next category, chasing your bounty. There are going to be bounties, which you access via the what was it called? The portal. It's the travel point, which starts as a ground mount, looks like a horse, and then as you level it up with in-game currency, gold, it will go to a flying mount, which will let you do heroic bounties, and then eventually will turn into a portal, which lets you do what they are calling legendary bounties, which I believe right now is not going to be in the game at launch. So the bounties are where you're going to spend most of your time. So you create a team, and you can even grab one of your teams you have in one of your saved lists, and you'll be able to look at the bounty. The bounty looks like a roguelike map. So kind of like Slay the Spire, Darkest Dungeon, a couple of those. It's going to be also dynamic. It's going to change every single time. And you'll have a starting point, a lot of branching off points to an eventual boss, which is an elite mob. And then when you beat it, you will open up a chest and get items like hero coins, equipment, portraits. Now, historically in gacha style games, you're going to have something called energy. And when you're done with that energy, you have to wait for it to refill. Sometimes during the day, if you log in during a tight time frame of an hour to 3 hours, you can collect a batch of energy, and you're limited by how much energy you have to do things like PvE content. In this case, would be bounties. However, Hearthstone Mercenaries has chosen not to use an energy system, meaning you can run this bounty. When the bounty's done, you can run it again and again and again. And every time
it'll be different.
Every time it'll be different, and every time it will have hero coins and equipment in the chest. So where a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they just want our money. They just want our money." Sure, it's a game development company. Of course they want your money. That's how they keep the studio open. However, this game style, you can circumvent gameplay with money, or circumvent money with gameplay much easier and better than all the other gacha style games that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Again, we haven't seen the full, it's not launched yet, so we there are probably some X factors we don't know. But from what I'm telling, just the omission, and we've had confirmation from devs that there is not going to be an energy system, that you can play the bounties endlessly, and it's not limited to like doing that one bounty a day or anything. Once a bounty's done, it will be replaced, and you can run another bounty. You can sit for 18 hours straight and do nothing but bounties and build up your collection, which is really unheard of in a gacha game. So it comes down to why would you spend money when you can just play? And when we talk later, we're going to talk about the bundles they're selling. I got points about that as well. But so far with the bounty system, you basically run your bounties, and through the bounties, you'll be able to hit certain areas like and get treasures. After every checkpoint, you'll get treasures that are just for that bounty, which increase maybe a certain character's stats or abilities or things like that. And then as you go up and complete the bounty, you get treasure. You get a chest. So the bounties are kind of going to be the way you play, and there's going to be, as you go through the bounties, you're going to get more characters and more equipment. You're going to be able to build synergies for those bounties, and you might run the first bounty and not complete it. You won't get the treasure.
Yeah,
but
well,
you'll get the XP for your characters.
let's be a little more careful with the words, because treasures in
Oh yeah,
bounties
okay. The
are
chest,
are specific to that bounty run, meaning
correct.
they will come in the form of stat boosts, passive effects, or new abilities that are only available for that bounty, kind of like getting a treasure in a dungeon run
Yes.
was. What you're trying to do is get to the last boss of the bounty, defeat them to get a
Treasure
item.
chest.
Yeah,
Or
there'll be a chest
item
that'll
chest. Yeah.
grant an item that'll go into your collection for a hero, or it could be a piece of equipment. It could be coins to unlock new heroes. It could be a number of things.
Yeah. The terminology, first off, there's a lot in this game, and there's a lot we don't know. A lot in this game mode that is a little confusing for players that haven't played these style of games. And to be honest, I say these style of games, Mercenaries, in my opinion, is like 5 different styles of game in one. You got aspects of Hearthstone in it. You have aspects of things like Raid Shadow Legends. You have aspects of hero collectors like Marvel Strike Force. You have aspects of roguelikes like Darkest Dungeons and Slay the Spire. And then you have kind of this weird combat system that's a mixture of all those and Pokemon Go, of all things. And to be honest, of all those style of games, this game has more in common with Pokemon Go than anything, to be honest, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because the types of characters and the combat style and the collecting small portions of characters in Pokemon Go would be considered candy.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's hero coins or mercenary coins. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You collect the mercenary coins to eventually unlock the characters and rank them up. Um, there's just so much to talk about here. We're not going to go into too much, but there are going to be synergies and strategies that are really cool that I like that they're kind of taking from Hearthstone. You can make like Murloc parties. You can make demon parties. You can have parties that have frost synergies or nature synergies or fire synergies. There's just so much to do that I just cannot wait until this game comes out. I'll be honest.
So, heads up, I have already put in, and I'm taking a week of vacation the week Mercenaries drops, and I am planning on creating a bunch of content for Mercenaries when it goes live. I'm going to make videos on what is Mercenaries. I'm going to make videos on starting Mercenaries. I'm going to make videos on some advanced Mercenaries tactics and synergies, and I am taking that entire week off from my primary job. I'm still going to work my part-time job, but I'm going to take the entire week off my primary job and spend the day probably streaming Mercenaries on Facebook Live and making some video content for you guys for our YouTube page. So
Yeah,
keep an eye out for that.
I am planning on taking October the 13th off so I can try to make some videos and get them over to Avanties to chop up for gameplay. But next thing I want to talk about are the mercenaries themselves.
Yeah.
So we've been told there's going to be at least 50 mercenaries at launch. The rarities are rare, epic, and legend. Though when they showed us the teaser mercenaries, there's 4 rarity gems.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be some commons that they haven't told us about yet. It may be something that commons come out later when they start rolling things out. But right now, the first 12 characters that they have spotlighted for us is we have Rokara, who is a rare fighter. We have Tyrande, who's an epic fighter. Tyrande Whisperwind. Blade Master Samuro, who's a rare fighter. Zyrella and Millhouse Manastorm are both rare casters. Cariel Rome and Cornelius Rome are coming in as rare protectors. Gromosh Hellscream is going to be our legendary that they're spotlighting here, and he's also a protector.
Yeah, so
Um,
so as Zerotio had mentioned, the 8 heroes you're going to start with are going to be 3 protectors, 3 fighters, and 2 casters. So
yes,
you
and one of
can
those is going
build
to be,
your teams based
and
off of that.
one of those is legendary,
Yes.
and I think one or two, one epic. So those are the first 8 you're going to start with. You're going to be given those right out the gate.
Correct.
There's also, if you go through the tutorial and you happen to play World of Warcraft, there's a cute uh, little mount that you get, which is, I think, what's his name, Sarge from
Yeah, from the
the
tavern.
Innkeeper's mouse.
Yeah.
My wife has already told me. I told my wife, I was like, "You're gonna want me to play just like you did with the Hearthsteed. You're gonna want me to play Hearthstone for you for this mount." She goes, maybe. And I showed her the picture. She goes, yeah, you're definitely gonna need to play my account.
Yeah.
Now with those 8 coming out, obviously there's a bunch more that are going to be in that they haven't showed us yet. There are 3 legendary characters that you can purchase with bundles. Okay? Mm-hmm. So there's a $30 bundle which comes with 30 mercenary packs, which have your your mercenary coins in them to get mercenaries, and as well as portraits and things like that. And it also comes with a legendary. I believe she's going to be golden. Yes. If I'm not mistaken, yes, a legendary golden portrait, which that's just an animation thing of Sylvanas.
Yes, and
that's pretty awesome.
So you get the golden Sylvanas and 30 packs for $30.
For $30, there's another one of a golden, diamond Lich King. Mm-hmm. Diamond the Lich King, and he is a protector. A legendary protector. You get the Diamond Lich King as well as 50 mercenaries packs. And then the final one, get ready for this, is also $50 for 50 mercenary packs and a Diamond Diablo.
Woo! The Lord of Terror coming to Hearthstone.
So we are getting Diablo IP items in Mercenaries, which has gotten a lot of people excited. The only thing they're not excited about is they feel as if they have to spend $50 to get this exclusive hero. Now, in gacha games, it's very common for them to do bundles like this and make it so that is the only way to get this character for a limited time. And in like 3 to 6 months, eventually they will be added to packs. That is not the case for Hearthstone Mercenaries. They have announced and they said right out in the open that while you can get these mercenaries complete with the bundles, they will also be available in mercenary packs at launch.
Correct. So you do not have to buy the bundles to get Arthas, Diablo, or Sylvanas. You can get them out of regular packs. You can craft them.
And it isn't Arthas. It's the Lich King.
Lich King, yeah.
The original version of him has an Arthas portrait. I think that's part of his level up process. He eventually goes from Arthas to the Lich King, which I think is really thematically awesome. But so that brings me to my point when I was talking about gacha games and being a financial kind of format and not so much a gameplay format. Hearthstone already is gacha, but because of duplicate protection in Hearthstone packs, traditional Hearthstone packs, and because of the way they do their rarities, their pity timers, and things like that, it's a little less price gougey, a less predatory than a lot of these other gacha style games, especially Marvel Strike Force. They're horrible when it comes to their predatory nature. When a new character comes out for $50, you won't see it available in game for like weeks, sometimes months. And if you do see an event to unlock it, you're not guaranteed to even unlock it. And then it won't be able to be what they call farmable,
Hmm.
which farmable would be in packs like Hearthstone, and sometimes 6 months to a year for some characters. So that's very predatory. However, in Hearthstone, they've already said in Mercenaries that's not going to be the case. That when they have bundles like this, they're going to also go right into the packs. And their packs have duplicate protection for mercenaries.
Yes,
So
which is huge.
that's huge. So if your pack would open a portrait which gives you a character instead of just the coins, it will give you a different character you don't already have unlocked.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously the coins, after you've unlocked the character, the coins will help you rank them up eventually. I think they go up to 3 ranks. And it
Yes.
sounds like they didn't say this specifically. It sounds like you'll stop getting the coins once you have a character maxed out, or you'll get other use for those coins. Again, we don't know all the details on that, but so far, just from this showcase and from all the blogs that came out, it sounds like while it does use a gacha financial system, it's not going to be predatory or not going to be as predatory as other systems. Now, personally, I like these style of games, and I am going to invest a little money into it because money to me equals time.
Hmm.
And for a $50 pack to get 50 packs, how long would it take me to grind up enough gold to afford 50 packs, which they're saying now is going to be 100 gold for a pack, just like a Hearthstone pack. So $50 for 50 packs to me is worth it. $1 a pack,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd pay
you
that all
know,
day long.
to me that's worth it. Now, whether you think you're going to invest enough time into mercenaries to do that, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I know a lot of people are saying I hope these pre-order bundles are available after launch." And to me, that then why are they wouldn't be pre-orders if they are available after launch. However, these characters are still going to be unlocked in other ways. Sure, you won't get them in diamond or golden, and hopefully they do offer them again, whether it'll be the same price point or not. We'll just have to see. All in all, I'm excited for the game mode. I'm happy for the game mode, and I'm ready to play Mercenaries. I don't know about you.
I'm so stoked. Like I said, I'm taking vacation for this. I'm excited. I can't wait to give it a spin. My only concern is it's going to be taking away from the amount of battlegrounds I've been playing because like battlegrounds is my favorite mode in Hearthstone, and I'm really looking forward to Mercenaries. So we'll have to see how my
Uh,
time is spent.
so the PVE portion of Mercenaries so far, it looks like it's just going to be a grind. It's something you're just going to have to grind on. It's going to be mobile friendly, so I'm guessing it's probably something you can do in the toilet or do in between, in breaks at work and things. It's probably better than trying to play a traditional Hearthstone game. Um, so obviously I'm going to play it there. The PvP portion of it, there's going to be a rank system. They're going to pair you up against people with like collections. Um, there will be ranking systems for it.
Hmm.
Uh, since I'm getting in on ground level, I'm probably going to push to be competitive there. And if I can stay competitive there and it's to my liking, it might be what I do instead of going for legend.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big ask because constructed Hearthstone has been my primary mode of gaming. And I don't mean in Blizzard games, I don't mean in just Hearthstone. I mean in every game I play. Constructed Hearthstone eats up more than 80% of my gaming time.
Yeah.
And and for me to say something like that, it just tells you I'm really excited. about the fact that Mercenaries kind of hits all of my buttons.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super excited as well. So, with all of that said, if you guys still have questions about
Yes.
Mercenaries, please don't hesitate to send them to us. We would love to tackle your questions. We we have 1 month to the release of Mercenaries. So if we don't know the answer, we will try to find out that answer for you. Um, and like I said, as Zerotio and I have stated multiple times, we have a lot of experience with this genre, and we would love to kind of help you guys understand it better between now and the time it launches in 30 days.
Yeah. So definitely tweet us at HeroPower_cast, or you can tweet me directly at Zerotio and at Avanties. Is it Avanties HS?
Avanties HS. Yep.
Avanties HS on Twitter. If you're part of our Patreon, if you want to be part of that, we're at patreon.com/heropower for just $1. You get into our Discord so that we can talk about these things. We have a channel just for mercenaries for you to ask questions or post things that you found. But if you want to be part of that community, definitely go over there, and that's the fastest way to reach us. I have my Discord available almost anytime I'm awake, unless I'm at my second job. So if you ping me on Discord and I'm not at my second job, I will respond usually within a couple minutes. There are some gameplay footage. We didn't add them to the show notes because they're kind of new. There was some press release gameplay footage that got kind of, I don't want to say leaked, because they were given to all the press media. Some of them decided to use it. Some of them, most didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so those went to YouTube, and a lot of people really, really, really liked those. So the Team 5 sent some of that information over to Trump and Regis Kilbin. So go to Trump and I think it's Trump SC and Regis Kilbin on YouTube. They have videos of some of this recorded gameplay that was sent to them by Team 5 that kind of outlines how the combats go and the synergies and equipment and what happens after a character levels. Those are really, really good resources right now. Again, they're very curated, and there's a lot of missing. I think the reason it wasn't put out for everybody to see is because there's a lot of like placeholder art. Clearly the game is not done. So there's a lot of things that are still in development, and a lot of times Blizzard doesn't like to put out for everybody that kind of stuff, because if it doesn't look finished, then they don't want people seeing flaws.
Right.
So it's good that they went ahead and did it, because they saw the community saying we didn't see any gameplay. Well, now there's some gameplay footage out there. Check it out. You might understand it a little bit more. The one takeaway from this I'd like everybody to look at is focus the most on the Mercenaries gameplay and not the financial aspects of it. Because the financial aspects of it, the only evidence we have right now is from other games, not from Mercenaries. So Team 5 and Blizzard have done a good job with other game modes, especially Battlegrounds and Hearthstone as a whole, that while they still try to make money from it, they don't do it in a predatory way to make you have that FOMO, that fear of missing out. They just kind of do it naturally, put out good products and make people want to buy them because they're good products.
I also want to call out another member of the Hearthstone community, Dragon Rider Dawn, over at Amberflight Gaming. Her YouTube channel is youtube.com/DragonRiderDK. She has created 2 really good explainer videos for Mercenaries. If you guys are interested, head over there, check out her 2 videos, and I know she's going to be also making more content for Mercenaries once it drops. So yeah, head over there, give her subscribe to her YouTube channel, and get some really good videos on
And
Mercenaries.
definitely check out at Drugger DK on Twitter. She there's not a lot I can say right now. She is making some work when it comes to content creation for Mercenaries, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Just pay attention to her Twitter. That news will come out probably within the next 2 weeks or so.
Okay. All right, guys. Gosh, is there anything we've missed, Zerotio?
If we have, somebody will tweet at us, let us know, and we'll hit it next week.
Absolutely. So, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments, any questions about Mercenaries or comments about this show, please feel free to email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on those Twitter links that Zerotio was talking about earlier. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't done so already, so that you get all of our new videos as they drop. You want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com/heropower. You can join for as little as $1 a month, get direct access to our Mercenaries channel, to our Battlegrounds channel, and everything else. We'll see you all again next week.
And don't forget to run those bounties.